Donald Trump's immigration crackdown has resulted in a 10-year-old U.S. citizen girl with brain cancer and her 4 U.S. citizen siblings all deported with their undocumented parents when they were on their way to an emergency medical appointment.
So yeah, that just happened. But before we unpack all of that extraordinary cruelty, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. Let's listen to the rest of this. Please brace yourselves because it truly is despicable and cruel, the likes of which we've never really seen before, but probably should expect from an administration like this.
Joining us now is NBC News reporter Nicole Acevedo. Nicole, what happened here?
Well, Jose, this happened about a month ago. This family was on their way to the doctor in an emergency with their kid who has been recovering from brain cancer from the past year. They lived in the Rio Grande and they were on their way to Houston, where the girls specialists are based on. And on the way, there's an immigration checkpoint that the family has crossed every time that they have to go to Houston to give care to her kid. And they were prepared every other time with these letters from their doctors, from their lawyers, explaining the situation so they could pass. But this time, Jose, it was different. The letters were not enough. When the CBP officials that were at the checkpoint there, when they asked the parents to show documentation of their status, they didn't have any. And that caused them to arrest them in that moment. But they weren't alone. They were with 5 other of their children in that vehicle, and all of them were detained. And at least 4 of those kids are U.S. citizens. And a lot of people don't know this, Jose, but if you're an undocumented parent that gets picked up by immigration authorities and you have U.S. citizen kids, your options are really limited. If the kid stays in the United States, they actually go into the custody of the government and enter the foster care system, regardless of whether they have family members in the United States or not. The other option is to have the kids come with them to the country where they're being deported to. And this mother in this family faced with this option with a sick child, you know, she tells me when I spoke to her that she felt like she was literally between a rock and a hard place. So you can imagine that this family now, they have been in Mexico after their deportation about a month. The mother tells me that the kids have not been able to go to school. Her kids have not been able to get the healthcare they need, especially this little girl, to make sure that her recovery cancer continues in the right track.
And Nicole, the Texas Civil Rights Project says the parents did not have any criminal history once they crossed the border.
Yeah, that's what they are telling me. Their lawyer who's representing them in the organization tells me, hey, these people, the only thing they didn't have were their documentation.
Nicole Acevedo, thank you very much.
Yeah, so that's happening in Donald Trump's America. The Congressional Hispanic Caucus condemned this. This is a new low. Trump's terror squads deported a family, including 4 U.S. citizen children, who were seeking emergency medical care for a 10-year-old with brain cancer. That 10-year-old, of course, also being a U.S. citizen. They've lost all humanity. We will keep tabs, and we will not forget. So let's read a bit more about this situation. Again, just when you think that the Trump administration could not possibly be more authoritarian, fascistic, xenophobic, bigoted, and cruel, they surprise you. U.S. citizen child recovering from brain cancer deported to Mexico with undocumented parents. The Texas family was on their way to an emergency medical checkup, they said, when they were detained at an immigration checkpoint. A family that was deported to Mexico hopes they can find a way to return to the U.S. and ensure that their 10-year-old daughter, who is a U.S. citizen, can continue her brain cancer treatment. What a sentence. We could probably just stop there and just objectively condemn the cruelty of the Trump administration. This is not a bug. This is a feature, okay? I understand. We'll get to the rest of the article. But just as a note, when you are administrating a government the size of the United States of America, 330 million people, no doubt, just by, even under the best situation, the best circumstances, there will be, just through bureaucratic nightmares and enforcement of laws in a country this size with 50 different states and, you know, the fallibility of the human project, that there will be bad moments and there might even be cruel moments. But I want to be clear, This is not an accident. This is not a bug. This is a feature totally in line with the capricious, cruel, unforgiving, inhuman, dehumanizing immigration policies of the Trump administration. The Trump administration has done nothing and said nothing that would lead an honest person to believe that this is not an intentional result of their rhetoric and their policy. And if they want you to believe that this is an accident or this is just, sheer dumb bad luck, then they would never have said the things they said about immigrants throughout the 2024 campaign, or quite frankly, the things they said and did during the first Trump administration. So again, just want to be very clear. Before a conservative or before, an enlightened centrist comes back and says, oh, Donald Trump doesn't want to get rid of 10-year-olds with brain cancer, bullshit. You have no evidence to indicate that they would intentionally avoid inhuman things like this. Their rhetoric and policies on immigration have been maximally cruel, which means we're not obligated to give them the benefit of the doubt, and we can assume that this is intentional. But we'll continue. Immigration authorities removed the girl and 4 of her American siblings from Texas on February 4th when they deported their undocumented parents. The family's ordeal began last month when they were rushing from Rio Grande, where they live, to Houston, where their daughter's specialist doctors are based, for an emergency medical checkup. Emergency. The parents had done the trip at least 5 other times in the past, passing through an immigration checkpoint every time without any issues, according to attorney Danny Woodward from the Texas Civil Rights Project, a legal advocacy and litigation organization representing the family. In previous occasions, the parents showed letters from their doctors and lawyers to the officers at the checkpoint to get through. But in early February, the letters weren't enough. When they stopped at the checkpoint, they were arrested after the parents were unable to show legal immigration documentation. The mother, who spoke exclusively to NBC News, said she tried explaining her daughter's circumstances to the officers, but, quote, they weren't interested in hearing that. Other than lacking, quote, valid immigration status in the U.S., the parents, quote, have no criminal history, Woodward said. So again, to be very clear, and I would argue, I'm sorry, that this would be profoundly cruel, even if the parents did have a criminal history, because the daughter should not be punished or her life jeopardized because of her parents' criminality. Her parents weren't criminals, and they have no criminal history. So, again, just pointing that out. U.S. Customs and Border Protection, which detained and deported the family, according to their lawyer, said in an email, quote, for privacy reasons, we do not comment on individual cases. The 10-year-old girl was diagnosed with brain cancer last year and underwent surgery to remove the tumor. Doctors, quote, practically gave me no hope of life for her, but thank God she's a miracle, her mother said. The swelling on the girl's brain is still not fully gone, the mother said, causing difficulties with speech and mobility of the right side of her body. Before the family was removed from the United States, the girl was routinely checking in with doctors monitoring her recovery, attending rehabilitation therapies, and taking medication to prevent convulsions. Quote, it's a very difficult thing, the mother said. Quote, I don't wish anyone to go through this situation. Quote, what's happening to this family is an absolute tragedy, and it's something that is not isolated to just them, said Rochelle Garza, president of the Texas Civil Rights Project. Quote, this is part of a pattern in practice that we have seen in the Trump administration, Garza said, adding that she's heard of multiple other cases concerning mixed status families. But for now, this is the only case of this nature the organization has taken on. The Trump administration's border czar, Tom Homans, has said, quote, families can be deported together, regardless of status. Homans said it would be up to the parents to decide whether to depart the U.S. together or leave their children behind. But undocumented parents of U.S.-born children, if picked up by immigration authorities, face the risk of losing custody of their children. Without a power of attorney document or guardianship outlining who will take care of the children left behind, the children go into the U.S. foster care system, making it harder for parents to regain custody of their children in the future. According to the girl's mother, she recalled feeling like she could, quote, not do anything, she said in Spanish, quote, you're between a rock and a hard place. NBC News is withholding the name of the mother and the rest of the family members since they were deported to an area in Mexico that is known for kidnapping U.S. citizens. In addition to the parents and their 10-year-old sick daughter, 4 of their other children, ages 15, 13, 8, and 6, were also in the car when they were detained. 4 of the 5 children were born in the U.S. According to the mother, the family was taken to a detention center following the arrest, where the mom and the daughters were separated from her husband and sons, and she realized she wouldn't be taking her daughter to her doctors. Quote, the fear is horrible. I almost can't explain it, but it's something frustrating, very tough, something you wouldn't wish on anyone, she said, adding that her sick daughter was laying on a cold floor beneath incandescent lights. Hours later, the family was placed in a van and dropped on the Mexico side of a Texas bridge, the mother said. From there, they sought refuge in a nearby shelter for a week. The family has since moved into a house, but the mom said that safety concerns keep them up at night and the children haven't been able to go to school. The 10-year-old daughter and 15-year-old son, who lives with a heart disorder known as long QT syndrome, which causes irregular heartbeats and can be life-threatening if not treated well, have not received the health care they need in Mexico, their mother said. The teen wears a monitor that tracks his heart rate. Quote, "The authorities have my children's lives in their hands," she said in tears. Both parents arrived to the U.S. from Mexico in 2013 and settled in Texas, hoping, quote, "for a better life for the family," the mother said. She and her husband both worked a string of different jobs to support their 6 children. The couple also has a 17-year-old son they left behind in Texas following their deportation. Just 2 weeks ago, another undocumented mother in California, caring for her 21-year-old daughter, a U.S. citizen undergoing treatment for bone cancer, was detained by immigration authorities and later released under humanitarian parole. "We are calling on the government," Garza said, "to parole the family, to correct the harm they've made, and to not do this to anyone else." So there you have it, folks. Again, just want to say, in any other administration, there are, again, when you're administering a country this size, there are going to be bad situations which occur and cruelties, intentional or otherwise. This is not a bug. It's a feature. This is perfectly commensurate with the dehumanizing rhetoric and policies of the Trump campaign and the Trump administration, and they do not deserve the benefit of the doubt. So if a prominent MAGA Republican lawmaker or prominent MAGA politician or influencer comes and says, no, this isn't what we meant when we dehumanized immigrants and said, like, they're poisoning the blood of this country, you have no obligation to take them at face value. You have no obligation to give them the benefit of the doubt. You have every obligation to assume the worst because that's the evidence they've given you. So here we have it. The Trump administration has deported a 10-year-old girl, an American citizen with brain cancer, along with her family, denying her the medical treatment that she needs to manage that condition, potentially life-threatening. It's not a bug, it's a feature. But in the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.